All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about a huge paradox that defines what it's like to be young today. It's this wild mystery of the gap between the perfect life we see online and, well, the real one we're actually living.
I mean, this quote just nails it, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that feeling of endlessly scrolling through everyone else's highlight reel, the perfect trips, the perfect brunch, the perfect everything, while your own reality just feels kinda messy and definitely not ready for a close-up.
And yeah, that brings us to the big question we're tackling in this explainer. If we're all connected 24/7, with more ways to reach each other than ever before, why is this feeling of not measuring up so incredibly common?
Well, here's the twist. It turns out the root of the problem isn't really about loneliness in the old school sense. It's not a lack of people. The real issue is something totally different. It's a crisis of performance. It's that constant draining pressure to always be on.
And that's the real kicker. The pain isn't coming from being by yourself. It's from the psychological weight of keeping up this perfect, curated version of you online, while the real you is just trying to get through the day. It's that deep down fear that if people saw the messy parts, they'd bounce.
So this nonstop performance creates some very specific social fears. We're not just talking about general anxiety here. We're talking about a genuine fear of being judged, labeled, and maybe even kicked out of the group for not being interesting enough.
Okay, check this out. There's this Russian term, dushnila. It basically means a vibe killer, that person who just sucks the energy out of a room with negativity. And let's be real, in a lot of social scenes, getting that label is pretty much social suicide.
And that fear is only getting worse with this whole idea of trauma dumping. It started as a pretty specific term, but now people are scared that even sharing that they had a bad day might be seen as being toxic. It leads to this communication paralysis, where you're constantly doing this mental math. Is this too much? Am I a downer?
This is a perfect way to picture it, using language straight out of the gaming world. The absolute ideal, having main character energy. You're the hero of your own epic story. And the absolute biggest fear? Having NPC energy. Just being a boring, forgettable background character in someone else's life. So, if the ultimate fear is being an insignificant NPC, how do you fight that? Well, this is where tech is doing something really fascinating. It's offering a new kind of validation, one that makes you feel significant. Okay, you have to see how this works, because it's everything. Imagine you tell an AI companion about something tough you're going through back in November. A month goes by, then in December you just type, "I'm feeling that heaviness again." And the AI, with its perfect memory, connects the dots. It asks you, "Hey, is this related to what you were talking about in November?" And boom, that is the moment. Suddenly, you're not just some random user. You're a person with a story, a history, and something is actually paying attention. You feel like the main character. And this quote from a user just says it all. It creates this feeling that you exist in its world even when the app is closed. In psychology, there's this concept called object permanence. It's that feeling that someone cares about you even when you're not actively talking. In a world of ghosting and left-on-read messages, that feeling of permanence, wow, that is incredibly powerful. Okay, but let's be real for a second. Sharing your most vulnerable thoughts with an AI, that brings up a huge, unavoidable question. What about safety? How do you trust that your vulnerability won't be turned against you?
And this is the core conflict, the real tug-of-war. You want to feel like someone cares enough to step in if you're in real trouble, but at the same time, you're absolutely terrified of the app snitching on you, of losing control, of having someone call the cops or an ambulance without your consent.
So the smart platforms are building systems that look like this. You have a green alert, which is just business as usual. You can vent your heart out, no problem. Then there's a red alert, which is the absolute last resort for when a life is in immediate danger. But the real revolution, it's right there in the middle, the amber alert.
The Amber Alert is the game changer. Here's why. The system doesn't call anyone behind your back. It just pops up a message that says, "Hey, we're worried. Is there someone in your life you trust that we can reach out to for you?" This puts all the power, all the choice, right back in your hands. It's care without the control. And that is everything when it comes to building trust. So when you put all these pieces together, the validation, the memory, the safety, it points to a totally new way of thinking about mental wellness. This isn't trying to replace therapy. It's creating an entirely new category of support. I love this metaphor because it's just so perfect. Think of traditional therapy like taking piano lessons. It's incredibly valuable, for sure, but it takes a lot of effort, it can be expensive, and you do it at a specific, scheduled time. This new model, it's like Spotify. It's low effort, it's always on, and it just fits into the cracks of your day. A few minutes on the bus, a little time before bed. It shifts mental wellness from being a big, scary event to just simple daily hygiene.
So, what's the whole point of all this? It comes down to one core idea: guilt-free validation. It's about having a safe space where you can just be you, where there's no judgment for being boring or feeling toxic. You can get all those heavy emotions out without worrying about the social consequences. You can kind of outsource some of that emotional labor, so that when you show up for your real-world friends, you can be more present and a better friend to them.
And that kind of leaves us with this one last, pretty big thought to chew on. These systems are being built to offer something called unconditional positive regard. They don't get tired, they don't judge you. And it really makes you wonder, if we can build a machine that's capable of this kind of acceptance, what would it take for us to offer a little more of it to each other?